Hi, Krista.
Hi,
How are you?
good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome.
You good? Oh. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good.
How's everything going? All right?
Yep, no complaints.
Everybody's healthy?
Thank goodness. How about you?
Same. Thank goodness.
Hello, Krista.
Hey, Mark. I have like 3 different screens up, so you're over here.
All right.
Expecting a crowd, huh,
I
Krista?
should put you here. Let's put you down over this way. Here we go. I'll use my top for my agenda and stuff. Oh, boy.
Good evening.
Hi, Drew. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
Good. Thank you all for doing this. This is
You're welcome. So you're going to be second on the agenda. We have another application before yours.
sure.
Okay.
That's
I'll call
fine.
you out when we're ready.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll be just hanging out, taking notes.
Okay.
All right.
Hi, Tamara.
Hello.
Hey, Rick.
Hello, Tim. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm just getting all my settings in order here.
Yeah, you're Krista Parsons again.
I know. I'm going to fix that in a second.
Oh, no, it's cute, Rick. It fits you.
All right. There we go.
Hi, Gail.
Oh, I have them first on the agenda, my bad.
Thank you, Krista.
You're welcome, Gail. This thing is leaking.
Hi, Jason. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Krista, what time do you have?
6:28.
Okay.
Krista, does Yolanta know the meeting starts at 6:30?
Should.
Okay.
Elaine is going to be a little late. I don't know about Yolanta.
was
I'm
at the
going-
last meeting when we discussed it.
I'm going to put everybody on mute and I'm going to call Yolanta and just let her know.
Is it 6:30?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the East Amwell Township Planning Board meeting to order. Okay, oh, Rick's not here. All right, because we have to do the flag salute.
I'm here. Hang on.
Bill's got a flag behind him.
Yolanta's joining momentarily.
Okay,
We got the flag right here.
all right, everybody stand for the flag. Whatever. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right.
In compliance with the Open Publics Meeting Act, this is a regular scheduled meeting pursuant to the annual meeting notice as published in the January 16th, 2020 issue of the Hunterdon County Democrat. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Hunterdon County Democrat, filed in the Township Clerk's office, and posted on the bulletin board and Township website on December 1st. Mark Castellano,
Here.
Tamara Lee,
Here.
Mike Mills, Tim Willie,
Here.
Gail Glasshoff,
Here.
Francis Gavigan, John Mills,
Here.
Jason Silverthorne,
Here.
Rick Wolf,
Here.
John Saramba,
Here.
Marnie Stetson,
Here.
Natalie Nelson, and Jackson Ryder.
Here.
Okay, first is the review of the agenda. Just,
So we're going to add a discussion of the professionals' proposals.
okay. Is there anything else that you need, or is that it?
I believe that's it.
Okay. Okay, presentation of minutes, November 5th, 2020. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
Yep.
Okay, are there any comments or corrections? Okay, Jackson?
I make a motion to accept them as corrected.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks. Let's see. Citizens privileged to speak on items not on the agenda. I need a motion.
I make a motion to open to the public for items not on the agenda.
Second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, is there anybody here? I see some names that are not board members.
Does anybody need to address the board that's here from the public? No, Gail.
Okay, I need a motion to close.
I make a motion to close.
I'll
Second.
second.
Whatever.
Okay, did we get a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, next is new business. Drew and Natalie Chaffee. Did I say that correctly? Okay. Anyway, let's see, this is block 31, lot 4.03, bulk variances, front and side yard setbacks. 51 Rocktown Road, Ringgoes, New Jersey. It's both variances for a pole barn.
That's
Are
right.
the notices all in order?
Yes, they are.
Okay. All right. Mr. Chaffee, would you like to make a presentation?
Sure. I appreciate everyone's time, and I was emailed 2 documents that kind of encapsulate what we're trying to do. And I know that I may not be able to answer everything in this, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. I just want to say that we have decided to make this application because we'd like to have a utility building, a pole barn on our property. And the reason why we put it where we did, or proposed that, is because we do have an odd shaped lot. If you look at it, it's really like a pie. And we couldn't put it in our backyard. Our backyard really does slope down. That's also at the beginning of that slope is where our distribution box and then our septic field is. In our front yard is where our well is. And we tried to put it as close to the driveway as we could so that we don't need additional driveway or additional impervious surface. So we tried to push it as far back from the road as we could while still being able to use the existing driveway. And when we went to get the permit, we were told that, hey, you know what, these setbacks are not right. You're going to need a variance. So,
Right.
Here we are. And I appreciate everyone's time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Mr.
Okay,
Chafee, you just want to state that you currently have a shed in this current location where you propose the pole barn?
Actually, we moved the shed. The shed is in the far back.
But this was the shed at this current location that you're proposing?
At one time it was, yes. Yes, it was. It's a portable. It's a, one of those, you can buy them and move them around as you like. We've got a few chickens in the way back with housing right now.
Okay. I noticed from when I was reading our engineer's report
Yes.
that one of the things was that the well and septic is not shown on your survey. And I was wondering why, considering it's important to know how far it is from the new barn, the pole barn. It's going to be from your septic and field and your well.
Right. Well, that's a good question. And I don't know why it's not indicated on there either. That's maybe an oversight. We did kind of do some hand drawings and things, but I can tell you the well head is right in the front of the yard. Just slightly as I look at the street to the right of our front yard. And our septic, we have a fence that kind of goes from our driveway to the end of the yard, and right there just behind it is our distribution box. I know this because when we originally bought the house, we had to have some septic repair work done, and that had to be dug up and repaired. So, and then going further south, further down the yard, is where the septic, you might say, like the septic field is. Our yard does really drop off, topographically from where the house is down to the bottom. It's pretty much like a straight shot.
Do you plan to have any lighting on the pole barn?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, I'm talking about outside, where for
Sure.
like nighttime use and stuff.
Sure. Not at this time. If we were, I did read about, putting down, everything has to point down, and
Right.
but what if we were to do that, of course I would, I'd go to the I would get I'd follow whatever guidelines you folks have.
Okay. Let's see. Since everybody else has had a chance to read Bill's report, does anybody else have any questions under the comment section? Because he has a list of things that he made comments on. Let's see. Well, are the garage doors going to face the road, or are they going to be facing inland?
They're going to be facing the driveway. They're really going to be, our driveway is 2 cars wide. So we're going to be able to face it, so that we can just have the benefit of all of the existing pavement, so have as little an apron as we can. And there are no. I noticed they talked about existing trees. There are no existing trees there. And as far as the water runoff, the water we're going to put gutters there, and the water is really going to go to the south part of our yard. It's not really going to go to the adjacent property. It really does pitch pretty much directly to the bottom of our yard.
Okay.
And if anyone has any plantings, we were going to put plantings and landscape there anyway, but as a matter of fact, the person that's going to prepare the pad site is John Rock. If anyone has any questions for him, he's on here as well.
Is there any place you can move it to minimize the variance? I mean, as far as moving where you could put the pole barn.
Right. I could move it like maybe a few feet, like further, like to the back of the yard. The problem is I'd still need a variance, and then I wouldn't get the benefit of I'd have to actually increase my impervious surface. I'd have to like make the driveway a little bit bigger and have to move the fence, and then I'm getting close to my distribution box. So even if I were to move it south, I'd still need your permission to do this.
Well, yeah, I know when Bill did his review, I mean, he realized that you would still need a variance, but he was looking at not being so close, I guess, to the property line,
Right.
That's why that was on his report.
Right. Yeah. It's a difficult call because of just the way the yard really does right after our driveway, it just really goes south pretty, it drops down pretty fast. So.
All right.
Now,
from Bill's report, does anybody else have any comments or questions? No?
Just a comment that Joe Angelone and I did do a site visit and could see the wellhead he's talking about in the front and to the right of his front door, observed the slope, and there was discussion about, well, where would the water go? And almost like, would you maybe do a dry well or something? It was definitely to face the driveway, and it did not seem to be an unreasonable location in that it's an odd piece of property. It's essentially a rounded slice of pizza, and it does drop off significantly after the house. So I think there'd be a minimal impact on others, and it wouldn't be facing the road.
Drew, who's your surveyor or engineer that drew up your plans?
We went from existing plans that we had. I had Pioneer Pole building come out and take a look. I don't believe the survey was anything official. I mean, we had I haven't done anything in particular for this site other than use what I had existing. So we do have that Google Maps photo, and and I've had, and I do have, actually one moment here. You want to hand me that? I believe it was in the application. There is a, hold on just a second.
Okay.
Okay, I do have this. I think you probably have this as well.
Mhm.
It's a,
Yeah, and it's small.
okay, good. I got to figure out what it's, okay. So this just kind of gives you an idea of the proposed location of the pole barn in relation to the driveway and the house. So that wire fence that you see there, right after that, the yard really does dive. And I appreciate Frances, her comments as well. That was helpful to me because it really, we don't want to make this ugly, and we want to, we love living where we do, and we love the view and everything, and we want to make it, we just want to improve things as best we can. And I have a lot of cars in the driveway. I've got two young adults with cars, and it's all like filled up all the time. And this would just make our lives a little bit slightly easier.
Moving them into the barn, are you?
Yeah, moving. Exactly. They don't even know that yet. Thank you.
Well, the boat is going to move into the barn.
Yes.
That would be one less thing on the grass or being visible. They've got a large boat.
Yes. We have a pontoon. That's true.
Drew, I have a question. I don't have that survey. It's Tim.
Sure.
But I was out there the other day. I stopped by. So the barn is going how close to the gate on that fence there? Like behind the pontoon boat, how close to the
To that gate, that's a good question. I want to say it looks probably about maybe like 10 or 12 feet.
Okay, no, I'm just because I paste things off and I'm just trying to
Sure.
get it because I didn't have the survey. I don't have the survey. I just have the little thumbtack in the proposed barn there. So I was trying to guess where it was going there. But
Sure.
and so the doors you're gonna have doors facing the driveway, the house.
The garage doors are going to face the house or the
Okay.
driveway, and then I'm going to have a like a regular walk-in, walk-out door, like basically facing the backyard.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm going to have a couple of windows. Look, there'll be a window in the front and maybe like a window or two on the facing the backyard. No,
And I see it's actually not that tall. It's only like 12 foot something.
yeah, it's a single story,
Yeah.
pole barn. We're going to try to match as far as the colors go. We're going to try to make it match the house as best we can. It's
Yeah.
going to have metal sides and a metal roof. It's a fairly straightforward thing with two garage doors and a little bit of extra for some storage.
Okay. I mean, I personally think that, I mean, I see the neighbor's house is for sale. The farm that looks like it's abandoned is for sale. I don't know what's going to happen there, but they're looking at stuff already. So, I don't know who is that silo part of that property there, or
Yes.
is that's there. So, those people are going to have issues when they buy there too. They're looking at your barn is probably going to be the best view they have. So,
Yeah. We know the folks there. They come and get the mail, and yeah, that's an interesting that's an interesting sticky property for sure.
Yeah. And I do know I know your neighbor next door, Rena, and
Sure.
I mean, from her view, you're really keeping it out of her view as best you could. I mean, but she's got a barn on her property, so barns are barns. So
Right.
and
Yeah, and there's really no one else over there as we
Yeah.
go further down the road. There's
Yeah, and I do know that I do know the back of that property just because I've been on Rena's property, and I know that lot behind there is not that wide. There's really, you'd probably have to have a variance to have it back there because of the side yard setback too.
Yeah, exactly right. And I don't want to torture the driveway to try to fit it in, somewhere where it's just going to cause a lot more
Yeah.
excavation and mess. This
Yep.
is,
Yeah, no.
it just seems to be like it is a compromise, and I appreciate that.
Well, otherwise you'd be, I mean, if you tried to put it on that slope in the backyard, you'd be bringing in a ton of fill to try to get it level, and I don't think that's a good idea either. So,
Right.
okay,
Exactly.
thank you, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
Bill, I've got a question for you. From reading your report, I think it's very important that the well and septic and field are shown on the plans.
Yeah, Gail, that's a great point. It was a question that I was going to raise to the applicant. I'm actually looking at the survey that was submitted, and it does actually show the well in the front yard. So the well is marked. One of my questions was going to be just to get a little more, I guess, definitive answer on where this septic is, on the survey here. I mean, Mr. Chafee, I'm looking at the plan that you had submitted, and we have the wire fence that runs just behind your driveway over to your side yard, right?
Right.
And you had indicated that's where the property starts sloping down.
Yes.
Where on that survey map can you approximate for us where you mentioned the D box was for the
Sure,
septic, and then where's your septic field?
The D box is right about between the S and the E, and then I think there's about 4 lines that go directly to the bottom of the yard, You can kind of follow that straight line down. I don't know exactly where they are, but you can see that, like from about the 2-story, the TW over to like the Y. Let's see. Oh, that's the drawing you have. Okay.
Well, no, that's one of the additional drawings that I think was submitted. I was looking at the more recent survey.
Okay.
The one that somebody looks like had marked up with the location of the proposed.
Oh, I'm
pole
sorry.
barn.
Okay. I don't know that I have that picture, but if you could go back to that, can you put that picture back up? Okay.
Just give me a moment. I just wanted to show that it says the septic field here. I noticed that it was stated on this one.
Okay.
And I'll pull the other one up.
Right. I see.
Got too many screens.
And it's actually a great location for a septic because the water really does, it's just a natural weep down, you know? There's plenty of activity there.
I might not have it on here.
Bill, I've got a question for you.
Sure, Gail.
On our checklist, don't we require that the well and septic locations be on there? On the plan?
Yes, that is a requirement on your checklist. Yes.
Oh, so it really should have been on there for the completeness end of it.
I don't disagree, Gail. I think when it was reviewed for completeness, I'm assuming that because the septic was shown on maybe the older survey and because the well was shown on the newer survey, maybe we treated it as being addressed for completeness. One recommendation I was going to have, if the board was inclined to approve the application, perhaps we can get the survey updated, frankly, even if it's drawn in by hand, to show the location of these components, just so we have an idea of where they're located, all on one map.
Yeah, and it should really be it needs to be accurate.
Right. I actually do have a drawing here of not a drawing, but a what is this? A survey map that shows it in, drawn in. But wouldn't there be a minimum setback from a septic system as well? Would that be?
Yeah, you would not be able to place your building on the septic. Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
same with the well.
Right. So, I think even more important than the septic field is just the fact that the yard really just starts to go down. And I apologize for not putting that making that clear on our drawing that we sent.
I think my concern and the board's concern would be just to have a complete file, a complete record of what exists today,
Sure.
what was approved, and just to make sure that all the components are shown, on one plan, if possible. That would be my recommendation. It would just be very clear moving forward.
We can make that as a condition of any approval if the board chooses to approve this application.
But I'm just trying to think. Let's see. Okay.
If I could, I would also propose that we make it like 20 feet away from the existing septic, from the distribution box or the beginning of the septic system, if that's agreeable. That's, I think, about where the building is, I want to say.
Okay. I know it's on a township road, but has the county planning board reviewed this, Krista?
No, they have not.
How about Hunterdon County Soil Conservation?
No, not yet.
Okay. Isn't that on the checklist? For the county planning board and the soil conservation?
Why would the county planning board have to review this?
Because they review all applications, whether it's on their road or not. And usually when they review an application that's on a township road, they'll review it and then, you know, just bless it really, and that's it. But it's
Gail,
for their,
Gail,
I'm sorry, what?
can I help answer the question? It looks like the checklist was checked off that a waiver was approved from those items. You are correct on the checklist. Proof of submission to the health department, to the county planning board, to the soil conservation district are requirements.
I'm gonna say, wait a minute, you're saying those were requested waivers?
They were waiver requests that were approved, and the comment here is that they would be addressed as a condition of any approval if the board was to approve the application.
I've never heard, when it comes to county, we can't waive anything from the county.
I think the intent was to waive it for completeness purposes,
Okay,
to have the application be heard. And then if this board approved the application, certainly I agree, we can't waive the applicant's requirement to bypass the county. I do agree with the mayor. In this case, the planning board, based on my experience, is very likely to not even review this application. But same with the health department. But with the soil conservation district, depending on how much land is being disturbed, they may review this. Their threshold is 5,000 square feet.
right.
I think the pole barn is 1,600 square feet. And if it's approved in its current location, it's very likely that they won't disturb 5,000, but they may need to go to them anyway. But I think that was the intent from what I'm looking at in the file here, is to waive them for completeness. And if approved, the applicant would have to address whatever outside agency approvals they need to address.
Okay,
That's usually one of our conditions that we impose on every applicant, that they have to comply with any and obtain any third-party agency approvals that they need. So that would be the same in this case.
okay. Are there any other questions, comments from the board? Okay. Yolanta, what type of conditions do you want to have on this?
Well, the
If the board
conditions that,
approve- you know, if the board approves it.
if the board approves it, then from what we have been discussing, the applicant will have to update their plans
Okay,
in order to place on their plans the location of that septic field and anything else that was missing from their survey. The applicant will also have to comply with any outside agency determinations or approvals. I don't know if we got through all of the engineer's comments. Bill, have we gotten through all of your comments? Are you satisfied?
Unmute myself. Yes, it looks like we touched upon most of my comments. The only additional comment I might have is, and I know probably everyone is familiar with the property, but the only comment I raised was, I think, comment 6, just about that natural buffer that's on the south side of where you want to put the pole barn. Can you just describe for the board what the makeup of that buffer is? Is it, you know, how densely vegetated is it? How effective would it be as a screen as it exists today?
The south side buffer, like, I guess you're talking about like like between me and the adjacent lot?
Yep, just to the side of where you want to put your pole barn.
Yeah, I want to say it's probably about 30 feet of just, scrub bushes, and there's a few trees in there. It's when we first moved in here, I guess it was about 4 years ago, that land was farmed, but not that 30-foot buffer. And that 30-foot buffer kind of goes the length of our to like the point of the hourglass, if you notice like the shape of our yard. And then so there's no it's just like a let go, kind of a of an area, and we would definitely be able to put plantings on the south and also on like the southeast side, to make it nice, and to make it so that plants would absorb whatever, do what plants do, and make it as a buffer, and make it nice.
Okay. And I think I heard you state earlier that no trees were going to come down in this current proposed location. Everything stays. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like the applicant did provide some testimony on each of my items. I'm happy to answer any questions the board has, but I'm satisfied at this point with some of the responses that I've heard.
Okay. Well, if there's no more, let's see. Okay, let's open it up to the public for.
Sam, before you open, so Elena's here.
Hi.
Hi, I was a little bit late. I had a conflicting meeting, but I'm here now. I did miss most of the testimony for this application, but would it be all right if I just went through some of my planning comments in my report?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So one of my comments is how far is this pole barn proposed to be located from the front property line?
Am I answering that?
Yes.
Yes, sorry, yes.
It's 50 feet.
It is 50 feet from the property line.
Yes.
From the middle.
From the, I believe there's an interpretation here. It's 50 feet from the middle of the road, and I think it's like 35 feet from the border. However,
Where the grass is.
where the
Okay. And then I had a comment about whether you would need to extend the driveway to match the front of the pole barn. Are you proposing to do that?
There would just be a small like apron from our existing driveway. I think at the most it might be a couple of maybe about 3 or 4 feet,
Okay.
on the one end.
Because I was wondering if you would consider kind of rotating the barn a little bit so it matches the driveway apron, so you wouldn't need to add additional impervious coverage.
We could do that, sure.
And plus you would then, you would provide more setback between your side lot line as well, because it would be more skewed away from the lot line.
Sure.
And then what are the building materials of the barn?
It's going to be, I believe the poles are wood, treated wood, and the rest of the pole barn is going to be, it's going to be a wood truss frame with metal sides and a metal roof. And the metal sides are basically going to be as close as we can match the color of the house, which is like an off-white or like a creamy white. That's what we're going to match with the exterior of the barn.
Okay. And are you proposing any lighting on the exterior of the barn?
Not at this time.
And then I think that's all for my planning comments for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Yes.
Right, Drew made the comment that he doesn't plan to have lighting on the outside of the building as, right now. Now down the road, if he decides to have lighting, which there's a good chance he might, because, how do we handle that?
I don't know that it's anything for this board to handle in the future. I think you're either okay with lighting now or you're not okay with it. And if the applicant puts it in, it'd be very difficult to enforce, saying no lighting now, and then what if he puts it in after the fact? So if I had to make a recommendation, I would suspect that they're going to be required to put some exterior lighting on just by way of the building code at the exterior door, whether it's a rear door or not. So as long as it's a low wattage, down shielded, like the applicant had agreed to, like a typical, residential light, then I wouldn't have an issue with that, as long as there's not any light pollution or glare on adjacent properties or the roadway.
Well, that's what my concern was.
Yeah, I don't know how we would enforce or regulate it moving forward, if you know what I mean.
Should that be in the resolution?
Yes.
So this way we're covered?
Yes, Gail, I would.
Yeah.
I would place that in the resolution as a condition, stating that any lighting that is proposed for the property will consist of low wattage, downward shielded lighting, and must comply with any ordinance provisions with regard to lighting. And if they don't in the future comply, then that's, as Bill mentioned, that's an enforcement issue, and the zoning officer will have to deal with that.
Okay.
If I could just say that any lights that would go in there, I would conform with what you folks have said. I agree with Bill.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Are there any other comments or questions?
Gail, I just have one question.
Sure.
Was Mr. Chafee sworn at the beginning of this application?
No.
He was not.
Well,
No, and I
that's
haven't
okay.
sworn since.
That's okay. I can swear you in now, and
Sure.
you can stipulate to your testimony. Can you
You can
please
go
raise
back a
your-
few minutes. That's fine.
Yes. Can you please raise your right hand? And do you swear that the testimony you have given during this application has been the truth, and that you will continue to tell the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you. And do you stipulate on the record that all of the testimony that you have given up until this time has been accurate and truthful?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Yolanda.
Sure.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions? All right. Okay, let's open it to the public. And I need a motion to open it to the public.
I make a motion to open it to the public.
Second?
I second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Doesn't seem to be any public that wants to ask questions. Okay, let me have a motion to close to the public.
I make a motion to close to the public.
Okay. Second?
Second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What? All right. If there aren't any more questions or comments by the board, I'd like to entertain a motion to either approve or deny with the conditions that Yolanta will.
I make a motion to approve it with the conditions that we have talked about and Yolanda has talked about.
I second it.
Okay. All right. Krista, roll call vote.
Mark Castellano,
Yes.
Francis Gavigan,
Yes.
Tamara Lee,
Yes.
John Mills,
Yes.
Mike Mills,
Yes.
Jason Silverthorne,
Yes.
Tim Willie.
Yes.
Rick Wolf.
Yes.
And Gail Glassoff.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay,
Okay. All right.
you're approved.
You're approved. And at the January, okay, Yolanta, at the January meeting, you'll have the resolution?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a nice holiday, Mr.
Yes.
Chafee.
Hey,
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Does
Everybody
Drew-
be safe.
Drew,
Thank you.
Drew, you know, you got to, you have to wait till next month before you can go for your permits, but
Sure.
Right.
after that, you're rolling.
We're not going to start building now. No.
Come on, come on. It's fun to pour concrete in the wintertime.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Thank you, though. Thank you very much for all your help. Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Good luck, sir.
Take care. Good luck.
Good luck.
Okay, next on the agenda is Jay and Susan Monroe, minor subdivision with a C variance, 27 Ridge Road, Hopewell, New Jersey. And this is in the Sauerland Mountain District. And it's block 38, lot 12. It's a public hearing. Are the Monroes here?
Yes, Madam Chair. My name is Janine Bauer, and I'm with the firm of Shaperman Lakeland, and I represent Susan and Jay Monroe. And can you hear me?
Okay,
And Susan Monroe is here, and I also have the planner and surveyor to testify to the application and the questions that were asked by the engineer and the planner.
okay. All right, Krista, are the notices in order?
Yes, everything was in order.
Okay. All right, who's going to give start off with a presentation?
I'm just going to briefly describe, if that's acceptable, what the application is. Then I'm going to ask some foundational questions of Susan Monroe, and then I'm going to turn it over to our planner, Paul Gleitz, to give the testimony on the C variances, the positive and negative criteria, and the special reasons, and so forth. This is a application for a minor subdivision, as you noted, Madam Chair. It's block 38, lot 12. It's also 27 Ridge Road. And this is well, perhaps not unique for East Amwell, but somewhat unique situation, because the back part of the lot was already donated was already the subject of an easement, a conservation easement many years ago to the DNR Greenway Trust. And now what the Monroes are proposing is to actually donate the property. And we already have an agreement in hand with the DNR Greenway Trust. The attorney and I are holding that in escrow, but it already has been executed pending approval by, of course, the planning board. So it is in the Sauerland Mountain District. Of course, that district is known for its concerns over water quality and quantity, forest habitat, and ecological resources. We did come in before the board for an informal application just to see what kind of questions the board had. And I think we are prepared to address any of those questions. And of course, all the questions that were raised by the planner and engineer. So first I would ask if Susan Monroe could be sworn, and I'm just going to ask her a few foundational questions in support of the application for the minor subdivision.
Sure. Ms. Monroe, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give with regard to this application will be the truth, so help you God?
She has to unmute.
Oh no.
All right, Susan, can you hear us?
Susan, there should be a little icon in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen with a microphone. If you click on that, it will unmute you.
Mm-hmm.
Krista, you don't have her muted, do you?
No, but is she on her cell phone as well? Because there's a cell phone connected, but that's on mute.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she'll need to unmute on the cell phone. I think that's where her audio is coming from, or would be coming from.
Oh God, what did I do?
Oh, no.
Whatever she just did, it hurt her.
We heard you.
Whatever you did worked for a second.
Not right now.
I'm not sure if on the cell phone you have to press and hold the button. It might be like a talk button. Let's give that a try. I've seen that before.
There's usually a button that says mute.
Yep.
You might have to scroll.
The other choice would be for it to hang up and to dial in on the dial-in number.
Yes.
You want to dial in, Susan? Remember I sent you the email with the dial-in number?
We can't hear you, Susan. Maybe if you try dialing in on the dial-in number on your cell phone.
Or hit *6.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh,
All right. Sorry.
Oh,
It's
it's
a
quite all
challenge.
right. Is this is your maiden Zoom meeting, right?
Yes, it is, certainly.
Okay, well, welcome. First of all, you are the applicant along with Jay Monroe, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you've already entered into an agreement with the DNR Greenway Trust to donate the property that was already the subject of a conservation easement for many years pending approval of the minor subdivision by this board. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you understand that the way the land is arranged, because there are no structures or improvements of any kind on the back portion, which is the subject of the conservation easement, that the front portion, which we've called Lot 1, but we did just get the new tax lot numbers. So the remaining portion would be 1202 and 12.03 would be the conserved or now donated portion. So my question is, you understand that the coverage on the remaining lot, that is the lot that you lived on, would be maxed out, and that any additional coverage would require subsequent variance relief. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I do understand that.
Okay. And you're not planning at this point to create any new site improvements or anything that would create additional coverage on the remaining lot, that is the lot that will be called 12.02 at this time, correct?
Correct. No, we do not.
Yeah. Okay. And the other question that was actually raised by the planner, is any fencing proposed along the subdivision line? We're not planning any fencing, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. If the board has any other questions for the applicant, perhaps this would be a good time. Of course, she'll stay on. And otherwise, I would plan to move to the planner.
Bill, do you want to go over your report with your
Yeah, I'm happy to go.
Yes.
Do we want to, does the board want to hear from perhaps the surveyor or planner first, or do you want me to go through my report now?
I'd rather have you go through yours and then they can respond.
Okay. Yeah, so the applicant's attorney just gave a brief overview of the application, and I think we're going to hear more from the planner in a moment. That was my first comment. My second comment just had to deal with the lot coverage variance and the fact that a coverage variance is now being created by way of the subdivision. And I had two comments. One, can any of the excess coverage be removed? And if not, it was really a comment making sure that the applicants are aware that now they may have a future hardship if they ever want to try to expand the coverage or hardscape on the lot, which they acknowledge that they're maxed out now effectively if this application is approved. My other question was, are there any new site improvements or disturbances proposed? And what I heard was no, not at this time. And then my last two comments really have to deal with recommended conditions of approval. I believe there may have been meets and bounds descriptions submitted with the application. I have to confirm that, and we would just have to review that and the legal portion with the board attorney to make sure they're in order. And then I had recommended the applicant's surveyor provide a disc with the electronic copy of the subdivision for future tax map revision purposes. So those were my comments for the board. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me, but that's what I had raised.
Let me have, Krista? Did they submit their deeds and the meets and bounds at the time of the application?
What is it?
The deeds, meets and bounds, did they submit that to you at the time they submitted the application?
I believe so.
Gail, I think they submitted the meets and bounds descriptions. I don't think they submitted yet the deed portion, if I recall.
I believe you're right, Bill.
All right, well then, once it's been submitted, then Yolanta and Bill need to review the deeds and the meets and bounds and make sure everything is correct.
And I do have an electronic CD.
Is that what you were referring to, Bill?
Or do you want something different?
No, that's perfect. Ordinarily, just so the board knows, we would defer those to be conditions of approval because during the course of the hearing, sometimes the subdivision layout changes and it avoids duplicate reviews. So once the subdivision's approved in its final form, then we would review the map and the descriptions and obviously get the CD. But that's correct.
Yes.
All right, does the board have any questions of Janine Bauer at all? Okay, how about of Susan Monroe? Okay. Would your planner, would you like to make a presentation?
Sure.
Okay, you're on.
Let me sworn.
Yes.
Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give with regard to this application will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Can you please state your name for the record and spell your last name?
Paul Gleitz, Gleitz.
Gleitz?
TZ.
Thank you.
Gleitz.
Thank you very much.
By way of my background, I'm a licensed New Jersey professional planner. I'm also a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. I have a Master's of City and Regional Planning from the Blaustein School at Rutgers. I've been providing testimony for 15, 16 years now. I serve as a board planner now for Byram Township. I provided testimony through dozens of communities around the state. I've never testified in your town, but I was in West Amwell a few years ago. And I used to work for Elena's bosses many, many years ago.
Will the board accept Mr. Gleitz as a expert?
Well,
I move we accept him.
accept it, yes. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Gleitz, will you describe the three variances that are required and then one by one go through the proofs and justifications that are required under the standards of the MLUL, please?
Certainly. There are three different bulk variances involved with the subdivision. There's a maximum impervious coverage, which there was some discussion about already. 31,346 square feet permitted, and 41,666 is proposed on the lot 12.02. The minimum lot width is deficient for the new lot 12.03. 500 feet required and 96.4 feet on one stem and about 200 feet on the other stem are provided. And then there's a requirement for a tree conservation buffer. It's not proposed as of now on the plans to show that conservation buffer. But the subject of the subdivision is in fact an open space transfer. So, and I'll speak to all of those. By way of preparation, I've reviewed your master plan documents. I reviewed the application materials. I reviewed your ordinances. Just to note, as you all probably know, just as way of support for my testimony, your 2013 master plan re-exam goes into great detail about the South Mountain District and the Sourland Mountain District, and the need for conservation in the area, the important ecological resources, watershed resources, water quality, and water supply issues that are important in that area. You've made a number of changes over the years and increased the lot sizes accordingly. So you want to identify these areas, you want to protect and defend them. You want to, it's the whole point of the zone. I also reviewed the 2006 vision statements. They have very similar goals and objectives for this area. And your 2017 open space and recreation plan speaks about conservation in the area, open space protection, habitat protection, partnering with other groups, the state, the county, and nonprofits to increase open space availability. And I'd like to note that this property is adjacent to the county-owned lands of the Sourland Mountain Park in the county. So adjacent to this are another 274 acres of already county-owned open space. So again, when seeking bulk variances, we have, as you well know, the C1 and the C2 criteria. I think that at least for the coverage and the lot width, it's almost a hybrid of both of those approaches. So in terms of the C1, that's the hardship variance, the physical limitations, narrowness, unique situations, those type of things. And I think that you'll find that in terms of the lot width and the max impervious, this whole subdivision is drawn around the original conservation easement. So that conservation easement, as it was drawn to kind of maximize the protection of all the forest lands around the developed portion of the lot, while leaving a small buffer around the existing homestead there. So that was also designed to provide access out to the road and provide access to some adjacent properties that are part of the open space network in the area. So that's what's kind of driving this subdivision design, is the original easement. There are no new improvements, as we heard before. So again, this is one of those situations where we're not seeking the impervious coverage variance because we're adding new impervious. It's because we're shrinking the size of the lot, so our percentages have gone up. But protection and permanent ownership of the rear portion of the lot would negate any impervious coverage, because that may be a small parking area of some kind. So the overall gross impervious coverage is well below the standards and will remain that way, because this is not a lot to be subdivided for development. It's a lot to be subdivided for perpetual preservation. Again, and as you heard prior testimony, the applicant's well aware of the impositions, the restrictions now in place on the smaller lot based on impervious coverage. Again, the western frontage piece for 12.03, the new lot 1203, provides access to the county-owned block 38 lot 1. That's where trail access is now. So that lot width on that side, it was designed to provide access to that one side without impinging on the homestead. And so that was all part of the overall trail design. That's why that has that narrow stem out to Ridge Road on that side. And the reason why I say it's a combination of C1 and C2 is that the original easement is this meets and bounds described legal document, and it's not a physical limitation, but still represents kind of a unique situation on the property. So that was designed to preserve the forested lands. So that's why I think part of the proofs are under the typical C1 hardship, because we're following the same footprint as the conservation easement, and the conservation easement was designed to maximize preservation, not to comport with the development standards within the zone. But because it's kind of a man-made situation, it's not because there's a cliff or a river or a stream or something like that. I also think it's important. I just want to backstop this with some of the C2 proofs as well, which is what we call the flexible C. Which is pretty much that the benefits outweigh the detriments while advancing the purposes of zoning. So, and I think that speaks to all three of these I think I have to, I think you'll find that the unique situation of the donation of the conservation easement and the access points on Ridge Road, that creates relates the relief to this particular piece of property. And I think that's the first leg of the C2 proofs, that we have a unique situation, and that's why this applies. The second leg is to describe how this advances the purposes of zoning. I think you'll find that it advances the purposes of your 2013 and your master plan and your 2006 master plan vision statement. Your open space and recreation plan is advanced by this proposal. The codified purposes of the Sourland Mountain Zone District themselves are advanced by this proposal of moving the majority of these property into preserved open space. And I think you'd find that there's three separate purposes of zoning under the municipal land use law that are also advanced by the proposal. So we want to, I think the A criteria of the MLUL in terms of promoting public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. I think I think a lot of us can agree that increased open space and permanent preservation of habitat in the Sourland Mountains does promote the general welfare. Article G is sufficient space and appropriate locations for a number of different types of uses, including open space, both public and private, is advanced by this. And Article J, the conservation of historic sites, open space, and natural resources. So three different elements of the MLUL, I believe, are advanced by the proposal. And under the C2, there doesn't have to be a direct linkage. It's just the totality of the proposal should advance these, not necessarily the individual bulk variances. So as I stated before, I think the open space is a contributor to general welfare. The surrounding next, under the C2, we have to talk about the impact on the zone plan and the general welfare and the surrounding neighbors. I don't think the neighbors are even going to notice that this has happened because there's no development proposed. It's just lines in the forest and around the property. So the lot dimensions, the tree buffers, all those types of things are remaining the same. The nature of the use on the site and the surrounding uses and the density development in the area is so low that any impact would be negligible. Proposed lot 12.02 has existing bufferages along Ridge Road. And there are, behind that is just fields and additional brush. The existing front yard setback is over 600 feet. So while a conservation easement to provide that tree buffer would be possible, it's really not necessary because you already have this protection of the view shed. You're preserving the forested portions, and you have this already kind of buffered frontage on Ridge Road existing. The public benefit for more open space outweighs any of the detriments to the public by the proposal, and there's no impact on the zone plan. In fact, it promotes a number of elements of your master plan, your open space plan, and your ordinance, the purposes of the zone and the ordinance themselves. And again, there's little impact on the general welfare because open space is being provided. So I think you could find both under the C1 and the C2 support for all three variances.
Thank you for your presentation. Does anybody have any questions of their planner? Okay.
Gail, I do, just real quick.
Okay, good.
I brought this up at the last time that they presented this. There's no new parking going in except for what's there. That's going to be the existing parking for the trail access.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
All right.
So is there something there now?
Francis?
Yeah, there's a small parking lot there now, Francis. It's just gravel. Because there are hunting spots back there. So once in a while you'll see somebody park there and they go, they have hunting access back there for deer hunting. And I park back there when I walk the property. I park there. It's, they've got the signs up that, the county has the signs up that they, the county rangers do patrol it. They will pull in there. And they have the warning sign about the ash trees. Always look up if you hear something cracking because you could have a limb coming at you. So, but it's a small little lot. It's hardly even noticeable, but I just, was concerned that, it's not going to get bigger or anything like that. That's all.
Thanks.
Francis, you have any questions?
No, Tim answered my question.
Okay. All right. Bill, do you have any comments to make?
Not at this time, no.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Elena, how about you?
Yeah, should I go over my report now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. So one of the comments that I have is, are there any trails proposed on the proposed lot 2?
There are no trails proposed. We are not proposing any trails. So once it's in the DNR Greenways hands, which it has already been in the Greenways hands, and I don't understand that they're proposing any trails, any improvements, any changes in the small parking that was just described. That would be up to them to come before the township to find out, but we are not proposing any changes whatsoever.
Okay.
No new trails, no nothing.
Okay, great. And then we have a comment that the bulk chart that was submitted on the subdivision plans have the schedule for single family dwellings, but there's actually a second dwelling unit which has a separate bulk chart. And I just have a comment that the applicant should confirm that the proposed subdivision meets the requirements for the second dwelling unit.
Yeah, I believe both the bulk requirements for the second unit and the bulk requirements for a flag lot are met by the proposal.
Great. That was my second question, was about the flag lot. Great. And then I just have a comment about if the monuments will be placed in accordance with the township's ordinance, if the applicant can just confirm.
I think you can make that a condition of approval.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question of Mr. Dora. The survey is here, John Dora, and I was just going to ask him. I think Mr. Burr or someone asked a question about the pins being set. Okay. Obviously, we already did the CD, but we'll comply with whatever you require with respect to the CD or meets and bounds, and of course the deed. But if you want to swear him so he can say that, we'll have him say that as well.
Okay, and then I just have a more of a note in my report that the applicant, just to kind of provide some testimony regarding the status of the proposed lot numbers and any correspondence that's been had between the applicant and the township tax assessor.
Okay. I think I'd have to look in the file to find the correspondence. However, my paralegal, John Kane, did request from the tax assessor the new lot numbers, and I have in front of me her drawing of the new lot numbers 12.02 and 12.03. So we did just receive that.
Okay, great. And that does it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Dora, you're the engineer for this? Hello?
The surveyor, right?
The surveyor, okay. All right, Yolanta, did you?
Yes. No, not yet.
Okay.
Dora, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give with regard to this application will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your full name for the record and spell your last name.
It's John Dura, D-U-R-A.
Thank you.
And Mr. Dora, you actually performed the original survey, and then you, because that was so old, you went out and resurveyed the property for the purpose of this minor subdivision application. Is that correct?
That's correct, right?
And can you affirm that the square footage for each one of the lots that's been represented in the application is accurate?
Yes, I can.
And there were some other questions that went to both the engineer's comment letter and the planner's comment letter. I think you just heard one of them, and that is that the flag portion of the flag lot meets the minimum required lot area of 30 acres. Is that correct?
I believe so. I would need some clarification on that. Are you considering both stems of flagpole or just one of them? You know, the minimum lot area is the area with excluding the poles for the flag line.
What is the minimum area?
I believe it's 30 acres for a flag lot.
Right, I meant of the lot, which is 12.03.
It's 43.3 acres.
Did you perform a calculation excluding the stem or both stems?
I haven't done that, but my question is, do you exclude both stems or just one? Since one of them is 300 feet wide.
Does the township have a practice on that?
Okay. Bill, do you have any comments on that?
It's actually a good question. I don't know the answer to that. My instincts tell me just to treat one of the stems, but I don't know that we've encountered this. Certainly not while I've been in town.
Okay.
So I don't know that we have an answer for you today. That obviously is a knowable number and could be calculated using either one or both. The flag lot ordinance was actually suggested to us when we came in for the informal review at the last meeting or meeting before that. So we were requesting, even without having considered that, we were requesting the variance because we did not meet the width requirement. And we're still requesting that.
And if it turns out that based on recommendations of the township that we're short a few acres, the same testimony would apply to the lot area of the flag lot that applies to the rest of the proposal under the C2 standards. That again, the impacts would be minimal. There's no development proposal. The impact, the benefits of the open space preservation far outweigh any negative impacts you'd have by having a lot that won't be developed anyway. I think the whole purpose of the 30 acres is to make sure that you weren't carving up the Sauerland Mountains into smaller pieces, and that you were preserving larger functional lots in terms of water supply and everything else. This proposal does all of those things by making it permanently preserved open space.
Elena, do you have any comments you'd like to make, or?
I believe that when you calculate the lot area for a flag lot, you remove the staff. And this is kind of an interesting situation where it actually has two staffs. But, you know, I understand that, you know, it really is the easement that's the driving factor for the way this lot is being subdivided. And, you know, the new lot is going to be preserved as open space, hopefully in perpetuity.
The definition for lot area indicates that on flag lots, the minimum lot area shall exclude the access drive. So that is consistent with what Elena just said.
Does the board have any questions or comments to make? Okay, I'd like a motion to open this to the public because I see we do have some public present.
I move we open it to the public.
Second,
I'll second it.
all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Does anyone from the public have any questions or comments they'd like to make?
I do.
Go ahead, Candace.
Candace Wiggum, 1116 Old York Road. I just want to thank the Monroes. It's a beautiful trail back there. And I agree that not only is it a small parking lot, it is a very difficult parking lot to find from the road. You have to have your eyes really peeled for it. So I'm pleased that this is being added to open space.
Andrea, do you have?
Hi, I am a adjoining neighbor on the east side of the road, and my property line adjoins this, so I have some concern. First of all,
Andrea, can you just state your name and your
Oh, sorry.
address for the record?
Of course, Andrea Bonet, 17 Ridge Road, Block 38, Lot 12.01, because it was subdivided off Lot 12. So my first question is, I am looking at the lawyer's certified letter they sent me, and it says that the Monroes are considering, or they're about to donate the conservation, or whatever it is, the land, the whole land, to the DNR Greenways. So my question is, I don't see anybody here tonight, Susan, Mead, Mrs. Linda Mead, or anybody else from DNR Greenway. So how do we know what they are really going to do with this property once it's subdivided? What is my protection? Because I donated at the inspiration of Debbie Strawn Gibbons, who was a previous owner of that property, in December of 1999. I donated a conservation easement on my property, which was evaluated by a professional appraiser at $143,000. So I'm serious about this, and I'm just wondering what's going to happen to the property along my property line. Anybody comment on that?
Madam Chair, would you like me to respond?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. That's a very good question. We anticipate that nothing is going to happen because this is an open space donation in perpetuity of the same exact property that's already the subject of the conservation easement. We've already entered into an agreement, which is being held in escrow by the attorney for DNR Greenway Trust and myself for that donation, pending approval by this board of the minor subdivision. And that agreement is a typical DNR Greenway Trust agreement for all of the property that it accepts to be donated for open space in perpetuity. We didn't make any changes. There's no exceptions. There's no development plan or anything like that. So nothing is happening actually except for the legal act of the subdivision and recordation by deed instead of a recordation by easement. So I think your protection lies with the DNR Greenway that it sounds like you're well familiar with.
Can I just ask why you didn't bring somebody from DNR Greenways with you? Andrea made a good point of wanting to know why somebody wasn't there, wasn't here tonight.
I don't have to.
Yeah, I didn't really consider that was necessary. I apologize if I should have realized that was a necessary component of the proof. However, from the outset, I've stated that we already have an agreement in hand and we negotiated that first. So we could make that part of the record.
Well, it is part of the record. I don't believe, Chairwoman, that it's necessary that anyone appear. All of the testimony that has been given up to this point on the record is supported by the fact that this is a subdivision, and the purpose of the subdivision is that this will be donated now to the DNR Greenway. If that does not occur, then the board engineer and I cannot. We cannot approve the meets and bounds and the subdivision language and the descriptions in that deed because it will not comply with what was placed on the record here. So because we have sworn testimony and we have a record, that is the protection. Because that deed will have to be approved by myself and by Mr. Burr before it can be recorded. And we will be looking for language that will restrict this in perpetuity and grant it to the DNR Greenway.
Okay.
Now, I
ask
would
a
like to
question?
say, may I add, please, and I hope this will appear in the record, because this is very important. I mean, I'm seeing Janine Bauer saying we anticipate nothing is going to happen. And we have other people saying there, it might happen and so forth. I think it's very important because I did donate mine in good faith and I intend to abide by mine. And then one of your speakers said something about a true conservation buffer. And I'm not quite sure how that affects me. Then the attorney said it's a lot to be subdivided for preservation. I wasn't quite sure. I guess it's all the same question really, but I am very concerned because I did give up a lot of my property value because I sincerely, as a former mayor and deputy mayor and township committeeman of East Amwell and a founding member of the Sourland Conservancy, I really am very serious about being devoted to preservation of the Sourlands. And I don't want anybody else to play games with it. And I don't know whether they are or not. I just want to be sure that no one is. Thank you.
Does the board have any questions?
I have one. Ms. Bauer, can we just confirm that any conditions that currently exist in the easement that's on the property will also be in the new deed once this is subdivided? So whatever conditions apply to the easement now, the way the property is used now, will be transferred to the new lot once it's subdivided?
Okay, that's also an excellent question. I think the answer to your question is yes. There's no intention to do anything different. However, in the conservation easement, there may be reference to something like a tree management or something like that. That's not typically something that you would put in a deed, but there's no intention to do anything different than what is in the easement. So that I can assure you of.
What I'm getting at is the property currently is used passively, and I want to know that there's nothing to suggest that the new deed will allow DNR to make it an active, to put active uses there.
Thank you, Cameron. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Thank you.
That's confirmed.
Okay, so that's certainly something, Yolanta and Bill can look for when they review the deeds.
Sure.
Thank you, Tamara. Good points. All right, are there any other questions by the board of any of the professionals? Okay, well, I'd like to have a motion to close to the public at this time.
I move we close to the public.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. We've heard testimony from everybody, and if there aren't any more comments or questions from the board, then I would like a motion to either approve or deny the application.
Could
Gail, I have a comment.
I'm sorry, what?
It's Rick. I have a comment.
Sure.
I would just like to commend the Monroes for what they're doing. I think it's admirable. I think it's generous. And I think it sets an example for other property owners. And I just want to say thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Monroe.
I second that.
I'll third it.
Yolanta, could you summarize the conditions, please?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. The first condition is the applicant will submit a copy of its subdivision deed with the appropriate meets and bounds description, and that will be for a review and approval by the board engineer and the board attorney. That subdivision deed will contain all of the restrictions that the original conservation easement also contained, and of particular significance was the fact that this property will be maintained in the same state that it has been maintained up until this time, with a passive recreation rather than any active activities going on. The applicant will also be required to place monuments on the property in accordance with the township ordinances in order to delineate the subdivision and the new lots. And that is all that I have.
Bill, is there anything you feel that's important that should get added to those conditions at this?
Yeah, the only other comment, and I don't know if Krista confirmed it, but to have the applicant provide an electronic copy of the subdivision plan for future tax map revision purposes.
Right. The electronic copy, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I will add that to the list of conditions.
All right. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Whoops.
Whoops.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion is by Tamara.
Move to approve, subject to the conditions articulated.
Okay. And a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, we need a roll call vote.
Mark Castellano,
Yes.
Francis Gavigan,
Yes.
Tamara Lee,
Yes.
John Mills,
Yes.
Mike Mills,
Yes.
Jason Silverthorne,
He's
Jason, where'd you go?
Yes.
Tim Willie,
Yes.
Rick Wolf,
With gratitude on behalf of East Amwell Township, a resounding yes.
and Gail Glasshoff.
yes.
Hey, Gail, can I just say one thing, as I tried to do it before that you approved? I want to just say, like Rick said, thank you, Sue and Jay Monroe, for the properties. I've known them for 15 years. They've always been community minded, yet some people have always thought that they were not. And I really feel gratitude that you're still in our community. So thank you very much, Sue.
Thank you for your comment, John.
You're welcome.
Okay, the resolution will be on our agenda for our January meeting, Yolanta?
Yes, Chairwoman.
Okay. All right, okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. The Monroes appreciate it.
Helena,
Thank
say
you
hi to
for your
Susan and Fred
careful
for me.
attention.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Next on the agenda is the items for discussion, the farm project status update. Do you have anything for us, Tamara?
Yeah, I submitted another status report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about it. Couple of highlights. A few people started reaching out to us. They want to get involved. Jamie Bowers reached out, and since I wrote this status report, also Cindy Nance reached out. So fortunately, I had very recently generated a farm project help list, and I sent them the list and said, if there's anything on that list that tickles your fancy, go ahead and claim it. So we now have a couple of people working with us on projects that interest them, or parts of the project that interest them, which I think is exciting. I told you guys over the months that outreach has been a little difficult with the pandemic and of course farm season and whatnot. More recently, I have started to try to collect email addresses for farmers, and Catherine Fullerton is helping me now. And she's actually collecting some from the farm assessment applications, and she's inputting it into the farm inventory that we created right at the beginning of the project. So having those emails addresses has made it much easier to get a hold of farmers. So I've actually talked to a few more since we started that. And I think that's going to be pretty helpful moving forward, especially since we're sort of winding down phase 1. And we have now planned a presentation of phase 1 that's going to be on January 28th. I believe Township Committee has already announced it. It's going to, there are 3 of us who are going to be presenting at that meeting. Elena is going to present essentially her research into the development trends that have existed, the types of applications people have brought before the boards, what's gotten approved and what hasn't. as well as the results of a build-out analysis. So she's looking at if we don't change anything with the ordinance, how will the town essentially, or the farm zone, build out based on the current zoning? So that'll tell us what we have. I was really pleased that Mike Mills was willing to also take part in this. He's going to be presenting information regarding the future of farming, because we are sort of in a transition. The industry of farming has changed a couple of times over the last 150 years, and we're going through one now. And he's going to talk about the future of farming. And then I'm going to do a presentation on a series of potential initiatives that the community could embrace to sort of meet the future needs of farming, so that farming becomes economically viable for farmers and they don't have to have a second job. At the end of that, we're going to obviously open it up to the public, and we want to start a public dialogue. This is really an effort that the community needs to embrace. So we want to bring the community into it. But it was my sincere hope that the planning board would take part of this meeting as well. We would like it to be a joint meeting between the planning board and the township committee. So I'm going to ask the planning board tonight if you'd be willing to participate in the January 28th meeting. It's scheduled for that day because we have 3 presenters, plus we want Yolanta there, plus we have other committees having meetings, and that when you put it all together, that was the only day in January that everybody could meet. So
What day of the week is that, Tamara?
is that a Thursday?
Yes,
I
okay.
believe.
It's the last
Yeah.
Thursday of the month, yeah.
Right. So I think it will be valuable. At the end of that meeting, I'm going to ask the township committee to, after they've heard the presentations and heard the public comment, to offer some comments so that the public knows where the township committee stands, but also so the planning board knows where the township committee stands, because phase 2 is going to have a much bigger role for the planning board, and we're going to have a lot more work to do. And it would be helpful for us to know where the governing body stands.
Absolutely.
This is going to be the only item on the agenda. The whole meeting will be for the farm project. And so, I just throw it out there. I don't know how you want to do this. If you just want to go board member by board member to see if they're available and willing. But
Can we do like a roll call?
Yeah, I'd like to, as long as we can get a quorum of the planning board there, then we can advertise it as a joint meeting of the planning board and the governing body.
I'll exclude the town
I
committee
just want
members.
to say, I think it's a great idea to do a joint meeting.
Thank you.
Frances?
She's not sitting here right at the moment. Oh, there she is.
I'm here. I was just standing to the side. I was listening.
Okay.
Can you make the 28th, Francis?
Of
January.
December? Oh, January? Yeah, I think that's when
Thursday.
I know. I think it's when they're planning on doing the Historical Society reorg, but I can miss that. This is more important.
Right.
John Mills.
I'll
You'll
be
be there.
I'll be there either way.
Mike Mills.
Yes, I'll be there.
Jason Silverthorne.
Barring any snowstorms, yes, I'll be there.
Okay. Tim.
Yes, ma'am.
Obviously, Rick, Gail.
Yes.
John Saramba.
Yes.
Marnie.
Would it be 7:30?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay. Natalie.
Yes, I'll be there.
And Jackson.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Wonderful.
It's going to be hybrid, right, Rick?
Yes, it's going to be a hybrid. It will be part live, part Zoom, because we can't fit everybody in the courtroom with the social distancing requirements. So my guess is most of you will be joining via Zoom. Perhaps all of you will have to sort out the logistics.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be all Zoom, but that's fine. I guess, is Township Committee still doing in-person meetings?
Yes, we are.
Wow. You're brave.
Hmm.
Okay, well, that's great. I mean, I think it's going to be a good meeting. I think it's going to be very informative. And like I said, it'll bring phase one sort of to a conclusion. And then my hope is, you know, a much larger part of the community is going to be getting involved. The entire planning board gets involved in phase two. And, you know, hopefully a number of other committees and even members of the public. So the project is growing. So I hope that's a good sign.
Okay. All right.
I-
Krista?
Gail, I have some comments and maybe a question for Tamara.
Sure.
First of all, Tamara, thanks again for all your work on this, and to Mike and to Elena. I know you guys have been working hard at all this stuff here. I guess one thing that I just kind of wanted to bring up is, you know, after our fabulous election, New Jersey is legalizing marijuana. And I know we broached this subject last year, maybe sometime, maybe the year before. But marijuana is a grown thing. So obviously there might be a farmer that might want to start growing. You know, is that something that would be incorporated in that? I don't know. But you know, I think my biggest point is that I think with this legalization, we as the planning board, we need to stay out in front of this. And I think we need to decide what we want the township to allow and not, you know, obviously they haven't come up with all the rules, but I know from what I've heard, Hopewell Borough and Pennington Borough have established ordinances saying there are no dispensaries allowed in town. And I know people that were trying to buy buildings to do dispensaries were told by the borough they could not open a dispensary in Pennington Borough. So I think this is going to be a big thing. There's going to be a lot of money in it. And I, you know, for us, it's might be two-pronged between the farming and the growing aspect of it, which is the smelly end of it, because it's all grown in indoors and it has ventilation and it's, you know, I believe, Tamara, I think you might have commented that you have worked with different towns that have had people complain about the smell coming from it for, you know, growers that are doing it for the medical end of it right now that's legal in New Jersey. But, you know, we have a lot of highway space. And, you know, does a dispensary fit into our highway space is something I think we need to ask ourselves. And whether we need to be, I personally think we need to be out in front of this because, you know, I think we need to have the answers when somebody approaches us as to whether we're going to allow them to either grow it or sell it. And you know, Tamara, I'm kind of bringing this up just because it's two-pronged and you're on this farm project, and I'm just thinking, hey, you know, the farmers are always looking for another way to make a buck. And you know, I grew up farming, so I know what it's all about. But you know, I'm just throwing that out there, and also throwing out to the board that I think, you know, the January is right around the corner here. I think on our agenda in the very beginning of the year is we have to address this, and I feel strongly about it because I think we need to be ahead of it and make it to our advantage, not to somebody else's. And you know, so that was just what I wanted to bring up. So.
And we're definitely thinking about that. I think you're absolutely right, Tim. We do have to get in front of it. We have to know how we feel. And it would be best if we knew what the community wanted to do before the state puts regulations in place.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is there's essentially three components. There's the growing, there's the processing, and there's the distribution. And we have to talk as a community about, you know, which of those, you know, elements of the industry is compatible with the character of this community. There are other parts of the farm project. I mean, you can talk about agritourism. It's the same sort of thing. What kind of agritourism is acceptable here in East Amwell, and what kind is it? Those are conversations we have to have during phase two. And you're right, the planning board has a big part of it because we're essentially developing new planning policy. And so we're going to have these conversations. And I think we're going to have to talk about how we're going to get to the end. Is it just the planning board talking among ourselves, or are we going to reach out to the community? Are we going to send committees out to the community to talk to people? We have to figure out what the process is going to be for coming up with that, with what that policy is. But I agree with you. We need to get in front of this. Absolutely.
Yep.
It's important.
It seems like a topic that would be good to address not only amongst ourselves, but maybe in some depth in the VIP or the Facebook page to try to get a sense. I know from what I recall, back in the time when they were all those suits with Garden State growers, people were concerned that we were going to be having wall-to-wall greenhouses. People might have some concerns about, will indoor arenas convert to grow houses? I don't know if that's viable or not, but we need to have the discussions and some information for people ahead of time.
Krista, have you been approached by anybody yet that
Get random calls about what the township's position is on it. They want to.
There have been mass mailings going out, and we get letters, but we're getting letters along with, I think, just about every other municipality. They really are mass mailings. They're not targeted to East Amwell. I agree with Tim that we should get out in front of this. I also think that at the right time, we should have a public hearing and let the public come in and speak about this.
Yeah.
We have to decide when the right time is, and I think we have to have our ducks in order a bit more before we do a public hearing on this. But I think it's very important to hear what the residents think, to give them an opportunity to do or to weigh in on this topic. I don't think it's a decision that should be made unilaterally by the planning board and the township committee.
Yeah, I think the first step is to do a little research. I mean, I'm certainly not an expert in cannabis and the whole industry of it. And I would like our decision to be based on, valid information and not just perceptions.
On another discussion item for the agenda.
Yeah.
Well, what are our neighboring communities doing? There might be a regional aspect to that.
Like I said, I heard, I've heard that Hopewell Borough and Pennington Borough have passed ordinances saying that there's no dispensaries allowed. And obviously nobody in the borough is going to start growing it because you can't put a greenhouse up. But none of the storefronts or any of that can be used for a dispensary. Is what a buddy of mine owned Pennington Hardware and tried to sell his store to somebody that wanted to open a dispensary, and it got shot down before it got 2 feet forward. So, that's only 2 boroughs. I don't know what Flemington's doing. I don't know Raritan or anything else like that, but it just, like I said, I mean, farmers are always looking for another way to make money too. And, this is going to be a big business, and, maybe it's, like I said, I would hate to tell a farmer that he can't make money, because that's what farmers have to do to pay the bills. So, like I said, I think it needs to be on our agenda very early next year. And that's, kind of my point is just, we need a process to start rolling on this, because it's going to start rolling out pretty soon. I think the legislature is not going to waste time on it, because Governor Murphy promised this when he ran for governor. He promised that he was going to legalize marijuana, and it's taken him this long to make it happen. So I think from this point forward, it's going to happen fast. And, like I said, I just think it's, it needs to be addressed early next year for sure, is my opinion anyway.
No, Tim, you're right, because we don't want to get caught in the, where we're getting embarked by people and we're not ready.
Yeah.
So, all right. Krista, under items for discussion, where were you putting board terms and contracts?
The board members' terms expiring?
Yes.
So the people who are expiring would be the class 1 member, which is Rick, class 2, Jason, class 3, which is Mark. You're up this year.
Right.
Mike Mills is up, John Saramba, Francis, and Natalie.
Okay. All right. Now, contracts. Did you want that under items for discussion?
Yes, that's where we put it. It's up
Okay. All right. Now, you sent the contracts to everybody, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Does anybody have any comments or anything? From what I could see, this is just from me, that the fees basically are staying the same as far as the hourly rates go. So, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate everybody sending in the application or sending in their proposals. And yeah, I agree with Gail. I was pleased to see that everybody's rates are staying the same. And congratulations to Yolanta for going out on her own.
Hello.
Good job, overdue.
I was going to say the same thing. Welcome to the world of self-employment, Yolana. Fun times.
Thank you. I know there are
Same here.
challenges, but all in all, I think it's okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Good luck.
I think the team has worked well this year. I'm pleased with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd like an opportunity to read the contracts before we approve them. I haven't
Oh,
had a chance to read them. I just got them today.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we wouldn't be making the appointments till January anyway.
Yeah.
So it was just, it was important to get them at this meeting so that we can make appointments in January.
Right.
So.
Okay, oral reports. Mike Mills for Fosby. Is he?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was on the other screen there.
Okay.
So the only update we have is with the Susan Thomas property. It was granted final approval at the SADC meeting. So we're just waiting for that to be signed once the governor accepts the meeting minutes. So that's really all I have. We have no meeting this month, and we'll be meeting in January for a reorg.
Okay, thank you. All right, Environmental Commission, Francis?
Yeah, we met. We're still waiting for some goals and information on things to be circulated. So a lot of things was pending for 2021. There was, as I said earlier, with the Cheney application, there was a site visit with Joe and myself to the property on Rocktown Road. And we're keeping an eye on it. There's not much going on. They are meeting later this month, and hopefully there'll be things to plan for 2021. Still a call for members because it's a pretty thin group. So if you can find any volunteers, we might be able to get something done.
Okay, thank you. All right, Krista, you have anything?
No, thanks.
Okay. I don't have anything either. Now the next is the presentation of vouchers, and I know that we had one added on there from Mazer Engineering for $150, and that was for Bill to attend the November meeting, which, if I'm not mistaken, brought the whole total to $7,764.50. Does everybody agree with?
Yep. Gail, you skipped open to the public. I'm not sure if anybody's still out there or not.
Okay, well, we were into so many other things and everything.
I'll make a motion to open to the public.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
Candace?
Yes, Candace, are you still there?
I am, and I have nothing. Thank you.
All right.
I make a motion to close to the public.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now presentation of vouchers. Like I said, Mazer Engineering, that was just recently added for $150 for the November meeting, bringing the total to $7,764.50. Are there any comments or questions on the vouchers? If not, I'd like a motion to approve the vouchers as presented.
I move, we approve the vouchers.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We had a couple of items under correspondence. Were there any comments or anything on any of those? I guess not. All right. Well, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy and safe and healthy New Year. Because with the way things are going, I mean, I think we all have to be very, very careful. All right, if there is anything else, could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, second.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Take care, everybody.
Holidays.
Be safe.
Yes.
Bye.